Well, hi guys. I better roll up the window because of the noise. I'm sitting outside of Starbucks because I've got some great Wi-Fi. I've got a parking spot that seems to be able, doesn't have a sign that says I can only be here an hour or whatever. So I don't expect anybody to come by, but I'm in Malibu. Could be that all parking spots have a 2 hour limit or something like that. I'm going to try and find on my phone this live so that I can watch it. And if I get my glasses, I'll be able to read your comments. Somebody's here. How's it going, Gus? Happy Sunday, Gus. Thanks, guys. I've just set this up. It's too windy for me to go outside and make a video outside. It's also a little bit cold. I'd have to wear a heavy jacket. And then if I go down near the ocean, I've got the ocean noise, the wind noise, and any place around here. The Pacific Coast Highway is pretty close, so I would have traffic noise, ocean noise, and wind noise all to deal with. And then I'd have to make another sort of voiceover video. And although I make a lot of them that way, it's not really the plan. I make most of them that way because of the external noises around me. So I found the video. Okay, there it is. I gotta listen to an ad. Kind of snickering. Because I gotta turn it down. Okay, now I got no noise, just me and you. And I can see comments. Sunny lightning, very windy and chilly here in Joshua Tree. I want to go up to Joshua Tree. Maybe you can, are you parked in the park and paying for camping, or are you just visiting, or do you have a location you can send me where it's convenient to, like BLM land or something like that, or a good spot to park when I'm in Joshua Tree? Some people have sent me locations. They're just hard to find, and obviously a map would be the best way. My email, if you want to send me anything, my email's down in the description. Grumpy Old Van, hey there, old man, old van. Annette Wise started out with a happy Sunday. Mike James is here. Traveling Art Guy, hey there. I meet a lot of traveling art guys, or a lot of people that are traveling and sell art or make things as they travel. I'd kind of like to do that. Maybe I've been photographing people, but if I started photographing landscapes, might be able to put them on the side of my bus and people would just come along and buy them. Especially when I'm in an urban area and they can see a nice print that they like, not too expensive, they might want to buy them. But then I'm in California and I'm a Canadian, so I can't be doing anything that makes money. Or at least if I want to keep coming down here and I don't want to get deported and stuff, so I can't be making money in another country. It's breezy and cold in Atlanta. Yeah, it's honestly cold here today. Like for me, I came down to get warm weather. It's probably about maybe 55 or 60 degrees, so it's not bad. It's just that if you were hanging out in that wind down near the water and in a shirt or something, unless you laid down on the sand to get out of the wind, it'd be very cold. In fact, that's my biggest problem. I'm trying to set up photo shoots and the weather's crappy, and everybody said, all of my models say, oh, it's too cold now. In fact, one of them said the other day it won't warm up until April. I hope not. I hope I can get better weather between now and then. Dan in a can, hey there, how are you doing? I can't remember seeing a video from you lately, but maybe. I watch a lot of people, so I can start to watch somebody and then go, like a lot of people do with me. They watch my video for like 2 minutes and then go, oh, I don't want to hear about that. And then they go on to another video. So I'm guilty of doing the same thing. So it's actually easy to understand why people do that. The most, how would I put it? I have one video that's about 15 minutes long, and it's been seen by more than 300,000 people. But nobody watches it more than a minute because it's called I went to visit a beach and I made a video about how hard it is for an old man to climb a cliff, to get out of there. So it was kind of, interesting visually, but I intended to make it kind of a comedy. But because when I was at the beach, I found out it was the largest nude beach in the world. So I made a movie called The Largest Nude Beach in the World. So a lot of people watched it, 300,000 already. But they only watch it for 1 minute, 1.5 minutes out of like 15 minutes or something like that. It was one of my longest videos. Anyway, so Dan and the Can, I might, you said just put an update video up today. Awesome. Then I'll be able to watch it. Everybody else should be watching it too. You guys should go subscribe to Dan in the Van. He's making some nice videos and starting out. It's hard to get subscribers when we start out. Well, I shouldn't say that. It is hard for me, but only today, I watched a woman who is much older than I am. I don't think she makes interesting videos at all, but she's got twice as many subscribers as I have in 75% of the time. She's made very few videos, maybe 100, and I've made over 300 now. So I've made like 300, almost 350. Another person has made like 5 videos and has 2 million subscribers. So when I look at I've made 350 videos and I haven't got 10 subscribers per video. Whereas I watch other people and they're getting like 200 subscribers each video. Same kind of format as mine. They're not that much different. I think it's just my character is boring as hell. Maybe. I don't know. To a lot of people anyway. Or I just piss people off because I kind of get political sometimes, and especially in my comments, I will get actually sort of annoyed with people and their remarks. Because they'll have watched a video. I might do a video that's about daffodils and how pretty daffodils are, and then a comment will be about how they're sick of the roses and they're sick of the scent of roses and they're allergic to roses. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Is that they're right off topic and way out there in terms of negativity. Can put up an update video. Okay. Dan, thanks, man. Dan's cool. Yeah, grumpy old Van, he is cool. I'm special, yeah, because I honestly, I am special in the sense that I don't, somehow or another, I don't accumulate subscribers. It just doesn't, it's a very, very slow process for me. I now, in a year, I've accumulated as many subscribers as my friend gets every month. That's my friend Chrome. But, I can understand why he gets more subscribers and stuff. He's a younger guy and much more interesting and maybe a lot more positive, but certainly more exciting. So, and more entertaining. So I would expect him to be doing a whole lot better, but it's really a frustrating experience for me. When I was traveling down the coast, I got a ton of subscribers every day. When I'm traveling and visiting a new place every day, even though the videos aren't that much, I don't think they're that much better. When I stop, like I do when I got down to LA, the subscriber number drops for some reason, and I don't know really what it is, but like per video, the subscriber number drops. but it's difficult. Like there's no way. There's I would have to be growing subscribers at 100 times the rate, or at least 10 times the rate, to pay for the gas to go to the next place. So it's a losing proposition to try and keep traveling to grow my channel. Although I'm planning to go in a couple of days. On the 20th, I get a paycheck. So sometime around then or a little earlier, I'm going to head out of town. I'm not going to be doing any much more in the Los Angeles area. So I'm getting no comments. I got 16 people here. Unless I'm just not updating, who knows? I'll give it a try again. You guys should, you know what I'd like you to do is tell me what you'd like the videos to be about. Like if there's anything about bus life or this kind of lifestyle, because it's ordinary. I mean, it honestly is ordinary for me. It's hard for me to think of the things that you might want to know about, or it's hard for me to figure out what you would be interested in. There's one thing that's I have been over the year constantly been asked for is a bus tour, but I've made many videos about jobs that I do in the bus and projects I do in the bus, which is essentially the bus tour. So I don't want to keep making the same one over and over again. But if anybody's got any ideas, I'd sure like to know. Traveling Art Guy says, plan to return to Vancouver by the beginning of April. Do you be back from... Yeah, I'm in Vancouver about like April Fool's Day, more or less. I can only go for 6 months. And although I left late, I don't have to get back until March this year. But if I get back in March, then that means I can't really, I'll have taken 4 months out and I can't leave until the end of October next fall, because I can only be, well, I shouldn't say that, 6 consecutive months. So I don't have a problem. I'll be back probably in April because that's been my habit, but at the very worst, it'll be May, first part of May. So sometime in April, I'll be back. It'll be good to get back home. I like being at home. But the same problem exists over again. As soon as it gets cold, or if it's cold, I can't do my photo shoots that I want to do. And this winter is at least 10 degrees colder than it was the previous 2 in California. Where do I park in California and how are the laws there? Is parking enforced? Every community is different. I spend a lot of time in Venice Beach, 2 blocks from Santa Monica. If I was to park in Santa Monica, which is 2 blocks away, or a block and a half away from where I usually park, then Santa Monica is aggressive about anything in their community that is unsightly. And yet a block away, or 2 blocks away from Santa Monica, you're in Venice Beach, and there's a street called Rose Avenue, and that instead of Skid Row, which is downtown in Los Angeles, they call this section in Venice Beach Skid Rows, and that would be basically 4 or 5 blocks away from where I park most of the time. But if I'm in the city, in Venice Beach, then I have a few places that I can go and park. And Venice Beach is very liberal about parking. Then other times I park on the Pacific Coast Highway where there are no parking signs. And sometimes I fall asleep where there is a no parking sign. And the police came by and asked me to move. They didn't give me a ticket. So when you ask a question like that, when you use the term California, every small community or small city has a different policy, and yet they also have different policy in different areas. And so California is too huge a place. It's bigger than most countries in the world. So, and it's just as varied in terms of the communities and how they feel about you. There's no sure thing. How would I put it? In van life, there's no sure thing. I have parked at Long Beach, for example, where it said tall vehicles, overheight vehicles can't park here overnight. But all kinds of cars and vans can park there, but not motorhome height vehicles. So I'm kind of lucky because my bus is a bit shorter than a motorhome, and I'm quite confident because this kind of bus is used to carry kids around all the time, and it's pretty common. I think it kind of fools the police if they are truly looking around for overheight. It fools them to believe that I'm not overheight, because I'm not quite as high as a Sprinter, not as high as a box truck, and not as high as a larger bus, like a bigger, longer bus. So I've been able to park in all kinds of places, and we've actually had my friend Chrome and Jasper and I have always had this conversation about why do people have a problem with the idea that you will have trouble finding places to park. It's, at least as far as I know, in most locations, it's not against the law to sleep in your vehicle, because people go to the beach to picnic and fall asleep. People often just fall asleep, and it can't be against the law to be asleep. It can't be, because sleeping is not like a privilege. Everybody absolutely has to sleep. It's not a right that's written down anywhere. Because nobody said you have the right to breathe. Because we have to. It can't be against the law to breathe. It can't be against the law to sleep. They can come up with, you can't park the vehicle overnight, that sort of stuff, but it literally cannot be against the law to sleep. Anyway, so where we park is always relative to the vehicle we have. My friend Chrome has got a smaller, he's got an E250. He's basically got the same vehicle I have, except it's got a regular van body instead of a bus body. So he can park in locations that are, how would I put it, that may be a little tough for me to park in. I should say maybe a little bit tough for me. But I've been able to park this anywhere where the sign doesn't say no parking, and I've had no problem. So, but a lot of people would not park where I park because they would be kept up by the street noise. And so they want to find a quiet place, and then they want that quiet place probably is only available on small side streets where there are houses, and now they've parked themselves in front of somebody's house in order to get away from the car traffic. Yet I can sleep right on the Pacific Coast Highway. Vehicles go rushing by, and my bus wiggles back and forth as some vehicles go by. And but at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, almost no cars are going by, so it's not noisy for me. But then I'm not, sort of the nervous type. Another person would say, you can't park there because what if the car comes along and hits you from behind? Well, that's, first of all, it's not likely that somebody's going to be driving down the road and hit my bus. If they did, it's no more likely than if I was parked there during the day. The same drunk or same person could come along anytime. So I can't be afraid. I'm not afraid of those like incredibly unusual occurrences. So I can park anywhere. Anyway, in California, it seems to me to be as open and friendly to van dwellers as any other area on the West Coast. But, you know, I haven't found any place. I've been to Arizona. I was living in my van in downtown Las Vegas. So any places that I've gone to, I've not had any trouble. And it's mostly you just don't park where there's no parking sign. So now there's lots of comments. Where do you park in Cali? Yeah, like anyway, I'll go through that again. They will enforce some things sometimes, but I think you basically have to be a nuisance for somebody to call them so that they will enforce it. Hey, Timothy Painter, how are you doing? Did you get the hell out of that high country and out of that snow and stuff and head down to like a sea level or something like that, a much lower level, and start having a good time this winter? I just watched your video about your problem with the hospital, or with your appointment, and spending the night in the hospital while nothing happens. Anyway, so get your butt down to someplace where it's healthy and warm, and you can start having a better time. Yeah, sunny lightning. I'd be interested in how you find boondocking. I think I kind of explained it. But I'll tell you about my first few weeks in this area in near LA. I drove down and I was driving along the Pacific Coast Highway, and I saw a bunch of motorhomes parked at the side of the road, so I pulled in. And then I stayed there for I went off and got coffee and groceries and stuff, but that was my primary place to sleep for about 10 days to 2 weeks. And then, and there were a lot of motorhomes there. So then a police officer came by at about 3 o'clock in the morning and told, over the loudspeaker, said, "You in the bus, you can't park here." But, she had just cleaned out all the other vehicles and was just moving down the row, getting rid of everybody who was parking there. So that was year one. When I left there, I went downtown and I saw a motorhome on the side of the road, so I parked there. And I, was fine there for like months. So I alternated back and forth between these places. And then this year I came down, and that first spot that I had been kicked out of by the woman or the female police officer over the loudspeaker, it's now full of motorhomes, and you can't, just people going down the road don't have room to pull over. In other words, it would be more like a view spot, but now it's absolutely full of motorhomes. And the other spots that I stayed at, they're full of motorhomes. So this year I had to come down and look for new spots. So, it's often very obvious where you can and can't park. And if you stay with other people that are staying overnight, usually they'll tell you whether or not they're getting harassed or booted out of that spot. So anywhere in California, I think you could pretty well follow that kind of a rule. Anyway, keep telling you, Gus, hugging a surfboard. Well, I'm not going to be hugging a surfboard. The only nearly naked bodies you're going to see on here are those girls that I shoot. Maybe you could do sightseeing videos of places you travel to. Yeah, Crazy Pete, that's awesome. The problem is that I don't get to... Traveling costs a lot of money. My trip from Vancouver to California costs like $500, and I have to save up for that. And so I just get here, and then I'm broke again. And then if I've got to buy anything or fix anything, or even just moving around town here, I'm spending gas. So, it's not that easy. It's not like you just get in the vehicle, drive off somewhere, and now you've got some video. Partly because you go someplace that's actually interesting to people. In other words, you got to have, like, let's say I went to Joshua Tree. It's 2 hours away, so it's going to cost me like $25. And I can do a video about Joshua Tree and maybe do another one the next day, then go off to the next place, which would be another $50. So just that sort of scenario ends up costing me a lot of money in fuel. And my videos make $2. So I get $2 per video, more or less. So there's, you know, it's never worth it to invest money to create an interesting video until I have subscribers and people are actually watching. Right now, it would just be a road to bankruptcy, a very rapid bankruptcy, to tell you the truth. So I can't travel that much, and therefore I'm taking videos of the same place over and over, which then causes me to not make a video every day, but every second or third. Southern California, sunny lightning, yes. Mike James, daily life gusts are you park, and how do you find spots normal for you, but probably not for viewers? Well, like right now, I'm parked right in front of Starbucks. There's literally no sign here. Well, there is a parking sign. It's over there, but I haven't seen it yet. Anyway, I didn't see it because it's right beside my bus instead of right in front. So it could be that I'm only allowed to park here for an hour or two. But if I read the sign and it doesn't say I can't park overnight, I could park right here and use Starbucks Wi-Fi until they close. And I frequently have just parked right beside a Starbucks or right beside a McDonald's. And that's because I need Wi-Fi. So when I haven't done it so much this time, but the first time I came down the California coast, I noticed that I could park pretty well anywhere I wanted, or anywhere where there were no signs, but I needed Wi-Fi. So I was going to McDonald's and because Starbucks closes too soon, so I was going to McDonald's, and then I would look around and go, whoa, I can park right over there. And I would leave the McDonald's parking lot and sometimes park right in front on the street. In other words, the interesting thing about that lesson is that if I went to a McDonald's, they're generally near a shopping center, or they're not right dead center in a residential neighborhood. They're usually in a shopping industrial kind of area. So if you're stuck finding a place to park, go find McDonald's and drive around it. You'll find a street or something you can park on almost all the time. It's just something I noticed as last year when I came down. And of course I found out about it because I needed to upload. An idea for a video would be interesting if you do some interviews with other schooly van lifers. Now that's the easiest thing for me to do. The problem is that the vast majority of the people that I meet are not interested in doing interviews. They don't want to be on YouTube. They don't want to be on camera. So I can interview other YouTubers or do van tours of people who have a clean vehicle, which is like, when do you ever have your house clean? If I walked up and knocked on your door, this is something that everybody watching a YouTube video should imagine. I'm going to knock on your door and ask if I can tour your house and have an interview. Most people would say, well, my house is dirty and messy, or I think it's messy. I have to clean it up first. And almost all of you would say, I don't want to do an interview. But it's one of the things that you like to see on YouTube. It's just that you can see how hard that would be to find people who want to who want to do an interview, etc. The people that I do know that do that put an ad on Craigslist and ask for people who might be interested in being interviewed, and then they make an appointment, and then they show up, do the interview and the tour, and they're gone. So I could do something like that, but I can't put an ad on in Craigslist for Tillamook, Washington, because that's one of the towns that I go to. I can't put an ad to meet people there. It just won't work. It's too much administration to try and set them up with any frequency. And then when I come to LA, my priority is to set up dates for photo shoots, and then I make videos, and I've got to edit and upload videos to my I have a Patreon for my photography. Anyway, so it's really, really tough to set up dates and schedules that allow me to do an interview with somebody. I would set up maybe 10, but I would end up being able to complete 5 because they would either, I would, an hour before we were planning to do it, they would go, well, sorry, I can't do this. I got to do my laundry today or something. So things just get in the way. It's really, really tough to schedule any specific style of video unless you're doing once a week or, twice a month, something like that. In fact, making a video once a week, just to give you an idea, if you wanted to make a 15-minute video, all you need is 2 minutes worth of footage every day. And that would be really, really easy. So maybe that's the solution to some of my video or creation problems, is that if I was to take a little bit of video every day, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, I could do one video and say, well, on Monday I went shopping. On Tuesday I went to the laundromat. And on Thursday I slept all afternoon, but here's pictures of the parking spot I was at. And then you can see what I mean. It would be easy to string that together for even 15 minutes. So those people have nowhere near the task that I have. As I'm trying to create 10 minutes of video every day. That doesn't mean I shoot 10 minutes. It means that I shoot for about 45 minutes to an hour, usually, and then select the best clips and then edit those clips so that I end up with a 10-minute video. I only go through this stuff to kind of explain it. Some of the best content is exactly that, interviews. I just need sort of, how would I put it? I shouldn't be asking you guys, because what I'm going to do is argue with you and say, I can't do that. That's not fair. How are you doing? This is Mrs. Susie. You in the van yet? Retired? Oh, talking to someone else, obviously, because here I am, retired in my bus. Hey there, grumpy Mrs. Susie's talking to everybody but me. How's the weather? Yeah, that's right, grumpy old van man. Mrs. Susie, you're being very, what do you call it? Friendly out there. I'm just kidding. Timothy Painter, frigid and colorful California, but plenty of boondocking. Yeah, or Colorado he mentioned. Yeah, Colorado would be an awesome spot in the summertime. In fact, I've been there years ago. I was a road manager for a band for not very long when I was 20, and I went through Denver. Loved the mountains nearby. Coach CJ, oh, that's Miss Susie talking. She's flirting with everybody. I'm just kidding you, Susie. I'm just kidding you. Don't go running off somewhere. I'm wondering at a Bass Pro Shop, or I'm working at a Bass Pro Shop, Coach CJ says, having a good time doing it. I'm also coaching basketball at a local high school and keeping busy. She's talking to Mrs. Susie. Yeah, you guys, I can't read my comments because you guys are just talking back and forth. How do you do if you let me clean first? Oh yeah, Dan in a can says he'd do it if you let him clean first. But you, Dan, there's a perfect example. Most of the van tours I do, people say, I can't do it because my van's not clean. And then I'll go, well, I'll shoot it first so I don't shoot any of the mess. And I can do that. But, you know, most people would want to clean it up, which means they got to make it. Like if somebody came along to me and said, when will your bus be clean? I'd say like in a week, because it's really a mess. I've got to put things away. I've got things sprawled all over the place still from my trip, and my photo shoot stuff's not put away. And even when I do put it away, I'm still feel disorganized and like I've got tons of space. I just don't know how to use it properly and organize it properly. So grumpy old, or Coach CJ is talking, he's stroking grumpy old Van. Crazy Pete, what are you using for editing software now? Because this is something that the editing software I don't think is too terribly important. When you're on an iPhone and you're using some editing software, there's like 3 or 4 choices that are pretty good. I use iMovie because it was on my phone, and I actually had some experience with it because I had played with it a little bit before I started my YouTube channel, so I just started using iMovie. And I later found out it can do a lot of neat tricks that I had thought for the first 6 months I thought it couldn't do. And then I discovered how to do them. And you know, how would I put it? So I use iMovie, but one of the reasons I use my phone and iMovie is that I've got an iMac. It was a my friend gave it to me actually. It was a $4,000 or $5,000 computer 10 or 11 years ago. It was the top of the line, the best and most powerful thing you could buy. It's 10 years later. It still works great for me to edit my photos and other things like that. It works great for that, but editing video, it's hopeless. And editing 1080p, it's just a little bit too old to do that. And it will not edit 4K, period. So to have a computer that will properly process larger video, I would be spending $3,000 to get the 3 at least, and well, maybe $2,000 at least, up to $6,000 buying a great computer to edit the best, do the best job on the video in an efficient amount of time. Now the other thing so that cost is one thing. I can't do it because I don't have the money. The other reason I don't edit on the computer and didn't make YouTube videos for a number of years. I could have started making YouTube videos 5 years earlier at least, but processing the video was always the problem. Now, if I take video on my phone and then I download it to put it onto the computer, now we're on the computer, I've got to take all these videos and organize them into the right spots, right folders, and right order. And then I start to create a video and I start to edit it. But that downloading time from the phone to my computer is slower than me editing it on the phone. In other words, as soon as I'm finished all my video, instead of downloading it, I just make a video. So it saves me the downloading time, which is, you know, maybe 45 minutes. That's to get the video off my camera. Then I've got all these videos that are all, especially with an Apple, all those videos are disorganized. So I got to organize them. And I promise you that I can edit my video faster than downloading and organizing before I even start editing it on a computer. Sorry. So I use my iPhone to edit the video, and it's so that I have time in my day to do other things. My friend Chrome uses his computer. He actually has a plan, probably in the long run. And my friend Jasper also does the same thing. They're both using the computer. They also have more serious intent with their editing. In other words, they would like to make maybe commercial videos, other things. Maybe, when I say they would like, maybe they would like to do that. So they have a more serious career intent. I'm a 70-year-old guy I don't want a job. I want to get that video made as fast as possible. So I'm not looking for a job, and I don't want people to pay me for my editing skills. So I just use iMovie. Now, what else we got here? I bet. Oh, Coach CJ, thanks for the coffee. Hold the video editing machine for about $1,200. Or you can build it for about $1,200. No, but listen, I have to have a laptop. I'm not building a laptop. I have to buy it. I need to have a laptop so that I don't burn all that power. I could also buy more solar panels, but they'll be useless when it's raining. So one of my problems with my iMac is that it's basically its own standalone computer. It's not a laptop, and it uses so much power, it's ridiculous. I can use it on a sunny day, but that's when I don't want to use it, because it's producing heat, and so is the sun, and it's just an uncomfortable experience. But I can use it. The only kind of machinery that I can possibly have is a laptop, a high-powered laptop with a good graphics card installed in it. So not just an ordinary Intel chip. I would need to have a graphics card installed to properly be able to process 4K, for example. Yeah, so, Coach CJ says his Chromebook crapped out. Chromebook is fine, but it just doesn't run editing software unless, I guess, it's on the web or on a browser. I've never heard of any editing software on a Chromebook. But also, they're just little toy machines. When I say they're not toy machines, they're great for doing all the things we do on the internet, but you can't load a program on a Chromebook. You can't load an editing software but you could, I guess, edit over the internet. But a Chromebook for me is useless because I don't have Wi-Fi all the time, and I can't always park in a spot like this beside Starbucks and stay here all day. Okay, so now I'm trying to catch up with the Traveling Art Guy. I think I thanked you for your super chat. I got to go back and find the other super chats. So I can, and Grumpy Old Van, thanks for your super chat, your coffee. What else we got here? And Coach CJ, another coffee, a little gas, yeah. Semi-retired Bob says, Gus, you can build a video editing machine for about $1,200. Now, well, maybe $1,200 American. That would be $1,600 Canadian. We got to watch what language we're talking about in terms of money. But yeah, maybe $1,600 would make it somewhere there and higher. As long as the computer has a graphics card, then it'll process video much faster. But if you use just the standard chip, like an Intel chip, and use the graphics processor on it, it's slow as molasses. For example, my iMac, I told it, I think I had about 5 minutes of video, and I told it to render that, and it said, oh, it's going to take a couple hours. So, but I didn't care because I wanted to to render it that way, and I couldn't figure out how to get that video on my iPhone. So then I went to sleep, and then I woke up, and it had failed. It had not even succeeded. So like 3 hours later, 4 minutes video, and it crapped out the iMac. So, editing and processing video is not necessarily that easy for these computers. Okay, so chilling with Dylan. What happened to you chopping off your beard before you crossed the Canadian-U.S. border? Well, I didn't. Well, I might have said that I shaved my beard to look good, and maybe I did. But I don't think so, because it's pretty damn long, and I've only been down here a couple of months. I don't think I shaved before the border. And it didn't matter. They still let me across. For some reason or another, people don't look at me like a, how would I put it? They don't look at me in a negative way just because I have the, obviously they'll look at me in a more positive way without the beard, but I don't feel any negative sort of vibes from people because of the beard. Beards seem to be pretty common these days. The problem with the computer is to edit with. It takes a ton of processing power to edit 4K now, and they have 6 to 8K. Hard to keep up, says Timothy Painter. That's the whole point. If you try to keep up with this stuff at the rate that it's going, and I know better than anybody because I'm a photographer, and every year they would come up with a new camera, and I could go and spend $10,000 every year on a newer camera so that I always had the best camera. And the way our world works, everybody thinks if you use an old camera, you're taking shitty photos, which isn't true. What's actually happening is that when you know how to take great photos, it doesn't matter what your friggin' camera is. That's the actual truth. And that would be true in terms of creating great video. The problem is that the power needed to process larger files keeps growing exponentially, and to be a professional video, self-employed professional video editor, they would probably have had to have paid $5,000 3 times in the last decade. So it would be $1,500 a month just to keep up with one piece of equipment required to do that job. And of course, you need to have the latest and greatest video camera. so it's one of the things, that's one of the big things that people don't understand, is that photographers and videographers, professionals, spend a ton of money just to have the tools to provide a basic job. And then somebody comes along to hire us and says, oh, I only need 1 minute of video. Well, 1 minute of video required $10,000 worth of gear. And only doesn't really matter. It takes, to get 1 minute of video for a professional might take an hour of shooting and go home and edit for 4 hours. So, and if it was 2 minutes, it might only add 1 hour to that whole job. Tiny little bit of video requires way more attention than a 10-minute one. Per minute, I mean. What's this? All that being said, I wouldn't worry about it since your videos look fine. Yeah, that's the thing. My videos are fine. They're not great. They're not super. Some of the times I'm amazed myself with what I can do with the equipment I have. But, it's like I keep dreaming of a drone. Those pretty pictures where, the drone goes up in the air and you get that pretty drone footage. Well, you can spend $3,000 on a drone, but recently they came out with one that was like under $500, and I started dreaming about me getting one. And then, first of all, I don't have $500. And the main reason I would get it is because I like to play with toys. So I could have bought a $39 one to play with a toy and crash it into a tree. And, you know, that sort of, the idea of playing where the drone would have flipped up like that, I would have satisfied my need in about 10 minutes. But the main reason I would spend that money would be to create YouTube videos. Well, I've been making YouTube videos for a year, and I haven't made enough money to buy a $500 drone yet. Even if I saved every penny. So you can see what I'm talking about. It's not, you know, you can't go buying all this stuff all the time. Yeah, if Dan in a can says, I have a good high power gaming rig that I paid $1,500 for, so it does video great. Can send you the specs if you're interested. Yeah, if you've got a laptop and model number and you send it to me, that'd be awesome. If it's a desktop, I can't use it. Yeah, the NVIDIA 1050 Ti is, I guess, your or is that the machine? I don't know if NVIDIA makes machines, but they definitely make graphics cards. I look like a great, easygoing guy in a bus. Why would they bother you? Yeah, might bother. Hey, no, they wouldn't bother Chrome either. One thing a lot of YouTubers or a lot of people on YouTube probably don't even mention. I park my bus, you know, kind of wherever. If the cops or somebody thinks I'm suspicious, if it's police anyway, they can just put in my license plate number. And then they go, oh, there's a 70-year-old guy in a bus that has no criminal record. We have no reason to suspect any problem with this guy. We can go wake him up, or we can go behind Safeway and get those people that are breaking in the back door of the Safeway. Well, of course they're gonna. I'm not their priority because they check me out and find out I'm not a problem. That would be probably true with Chrome as well. But, you know, Chrome's van is not sort of standing out like as much as my bus. But my point is that an awful lot of people are going, oh, I was in a van and I got roasted. Well, you know, maybe they have a, you know, criminal record and like last year got out of a 10-year sentence in the penitentiary. They don't tell you that shit. They don't tell you what they've done in their life that would cause them to make the police think they're a problem or follow them around or pay attention to them. They just go, oh, why are they doing that? I'm just giving you an example. You know, if you're a reasonable guy and you're not creating problems and you don't look like you're going to be a problem, you will not have trouble. Debbie Anderson, using a drone, you have to register a drone in the United States and Canada unless it weighs less than 250 grams. And the reason I got excited about, you know, in the last little while about a drone is that the DJI makes a new drone that's less than 250 grams, and therefore it does. You have to follow regulations, but you don't have to register it. And meaning it's a little less hassle. If I had it and was flying it in the United States and then I went back to Canada, I'd be able to fly it without registering it in Canada, or registering it as I cross the border, or, you know, that kind of stuff. It would be a lot smaller administrative problem. And that drone was the one that's under $500. It's like $399, and if you get the proper a kit the most efficient kit, it's $500. So that's why I started dreaming about a drone again. When they're $1,500, they're just out of my league. Respect your surroundings when parking or whatever. Yeah, Mrs. Susie, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, a Mavic Mini, that's what I was talking about, semi-retired. Bob, send me one. go into YouTube and I'll send you, I'm not kidding, Amazon, and I'll give you my mailing address. I'm just kidding. As I thought, we weren't allowed to use them here in, I thought we weren't. Debbie Anderson, understand, there is one Mavic video, a Mavic drone that creates good video that is under 250 grams. If it's under 250 grams, you can use them without registering them, but there are FAA rules that we all have to follow. Like you can't go out to the airport, go to the end of the runway and fly your drone up there because you can't get it in the way of the airplanes. It's probably a mostly common sense, but you still have to follow the rules. It's against the law to fly them in a lot of situations, and it's against the law to fly them unless you register them. It's like, in fact, in the United States, I think it's against the law to fly a drone, but it's not against the law to have an unregistered gun. I'm not really sure. Obviously, the drone is a lot less dangerous than unregistered guns, in my mind. I didn't want to start up a political argument, but let's just leave it as my opinion or food for thought. I'm in your boat, Gus. I'm 10 years younger, but still not young. Yeah, this is the best. Because of my age, I can talk about this. Because I can compare it with the other lifestyle I would have if I'm just in an apartment. I meet new people of all ages from all kinds of environments, all kinds of lifestyles, all kinds of financial situations. Yesterday I had a man come over. He owns a home in Malibu, and he came by and talked to me, and he likes to go out in a van. I don't know exactly what it is. It's probably a nice little motor home. He and his wife like to go out for the weekends and stuff, and so he came by and talked to me because he totally understands what I'm doing. He totally gets it. And he's rich enough to own a home in Malibu, right? So he's got like $1 million home. He's in a very different financial system than me, or financial situation than I am. But anyway, so I meet people who are really quite well off, and other people who, in my next video, you're going to see that I had a guy passed out by the back window of back wheel of my bus in the middle of the street, and I waited, to make sure cars drove around him so he wouldn't get run over. I waited for 45 minutes for 911. But anyway, the people came out in the block as they were going to the grocery store, stopped and talked to me. So I meet people who are, middle-aged, somebody who's a teacher. So I meet all different kinds of people wherever I go, and all of those people keep my mind more active. Meaning they're giving me new ideas and new concepts and new ways of communicating and stuff. So my mind is more active than it was before in my old lifestyle, because I'm meeting more people and more situations are thrown at me. So my mind is much younger, which is why I can have friends like, my friend Jasper, who's under 30, and Chrome, who's about 40, and I'm 70. So I can have those friends because my mind is more open than it was in the past. So I'm learning more. And my body's I sometimes fight with myself about that because I don't get out of my bus and walk around and walk the distance that I need to stay in good shape. But my body's thinner, and I am more active, and I'm physically younger. So the main advantages for me in my bus is that I get to see the country. I can I'm looking for my coffee. Keep myself in a pretty warm and nice environment. And I've got those other benefits as well. But I bought it to travel in, and I've discovered that I'm getting younger and my body's getting younger. So I'm getting other benefits. Now I got to look and see what's going on the list. Just turned 60 and I'd love and would live in a bus like yours, Gus, big enough but not a monster bus. It would be comfortable for my old aches and pains. Yeah, an Astro is probably too small. This is Mrs. Susie talking about being in a bus. And Chrome did a video about his van and about another friend, Jeff's motorhome, and I did a rebuttal. Everybody, Chrome is saying the same thing. Everybody must look at what they require in order to have a minimum standard of living that will work. Like Jeff has trouble with his legs, so he can't be kneeling in a small van. He needs to be able to stand up. And he and I had this conversation last year. He needs to be able to stand up, and he can stand up in my bus, he can stand up in a motorhome, but his motorhome is 26 feet. So his motorhome is 6 feet too long. He could not park where I am right now because he'd be sticking 6 feet out into the street and causing a lot of traffic problem. So I can fit in these sort of like, you see, I'm just parked parallel beside the other guys. I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, so I'm parked on, what do you call it, when cars are parked on an angle like that? And that's a main street going right behind me. Now, if I was 6 feet longer, I'd be shutting down the main street, and the cops would be coming, giving me a bad time if there wasn't a lot of people honking. So his is just too large to just go drive in and park places. Mine is 20 feet, so it's the same length as a long box pickup truck with the 2 seats in the front. So no one gives me a bad time about the length. As soon as you get beyond that, you're causing yourself some problems. But yeah, Mrs. Susie, I don't know, I first started looking at transit buses because, not transit, yeah, what do you call it? Tour buses, because they were more square top. They seemed to have a little bit more room up top because they weren't rounded so much. But now that I have the school bus, I'm really pleased. I've got a metal roof that I can just wash off. It's like washing a kitchen counter. You wash it and it's clean. But when you're living in a vehicle and there is steam and there's dust and there's smoke from cooking, then everything on the ceiling is going to get all smoky, orangey, and what do you call it? Dusty. So it needs to be washed off. And if I had a velour inside, like most of those tour buses, they've got sort of a material in there, then that stuff has to come down regularly. In its normal commercial use, there's no smoking in there, and people just walk in and walk out. It's not super steamy that causes dust to stick. So, and they can probably clean that with a little shampooer or something. But if you lived in it and you were cooking in it, having a combustible ceiling is not necessarily the first thing on my list that I would like to add to my bus. So the difference between a school bus and a tour bus is that inside lining, and cleaning that inside lining. You might know how to do it, but I don't know how, so I would stay away from it for now. And if I put a wooden ceiling on the top, it would have to be something like cedar, and something that cedar so that it doesn't produce mold, and it would have to have a finish that I could clean easily. So anyway, what's this? Semi-retired Bob. I get it. Once I'm not semi-retired anymore, I'm taking a van someplace much warmer than Omaha, Nebraska. There are a ton of places warmer. I think you probably only have to drive 200 miles south and you'll be warmer. But yeah, you know, the semi-retired part is an interesting thing. I actually retired from my money-making profession when I was 45. And so I was sort of semi-retired because I was self-employed. But what semi-retired often means is that you're actually working more than you ever did. So, and Timothy Painter says, I live in an Astro. Well, Timothy, you're good at holding on to things. If I don't know anything more about you, is that you're good at holding on to things and not changing anything in your life unless it's ripped away from you or something. So Timothy's in the habit of having an Astro. It's actually a good van. It's probably, and he seems comfortable in it, but I know he, you know, he's like me. I'm not going to change my bus for any reason. And I bought this bus because it was cheaper than his Astro, even though his Astro could fit inside my bus. If his Astro's the same age as mine, people would have been asking more for it than the bus. And Gosson Jew says, just enjoy the ride. We enjoy the videos and views that you see in your commentary. Chilling with Dylan. I was just curious about your beard because you said you were going to chop it off, didn't, and crossed it anyway. Yeah, the beard does make me look older. My plan was to go hang out at the beach and chop off my beard and make a video out of that. But it's windy, the highway's noisy, everything's noisy, so I'd have to chop off my beard to some music, and I won't be able to say anything. So, and I've made like 4 shaving videos, so it's not something I look forward to making again. Mrs. Susie, Timothy Painter, I have an Astro, but for me, I think you would be too small to live in permanently, or it would be too small to live in permanently. With 3 dogs, Mrs. Susie, it doesn't take much thought to figure that out. You can probably only have, your 3 dogs probably need a bigger doghouse than that Astro, even if you don't live with them. Just trim up your beard, Gus. Don't take it all off. Well, I have a shaver. It's either all or nothing. I got no way to trim it up unless I did it when I went to the barber. And she did an okay job with my hair. You know, when I get my hair cut, I go in and ask them to shave it to 1 inch, which to me is about that long, but they always make it that much longer than I ask for. I think it's so that I can end up getting a haircut sooner and spend some more money. So guys, I've been here on, I don't know how long this has been. What is it? It'll say up there, 68 minutes and 15 seconds. I'd say it's time to call it a quits. Otherwise, I'm going to end up, I think, with, like I said, there's a parking sign over there. So maybe I'm going to get booted out of my parking spot. And besides, I got to go make my video about shaving my beard off. Look how long it is. Look at this. It's 2 inches long. So I don't know when I did my last video on shaving, but I'm going to go make another one. So I'm going to read the chat again for a second, see what came up. See what you guys are talking about. Okay. Oh, Justin and Christina's RV van life. Have a great day. You too. Semi-retired Bob. Hey Gus, Grumpy, Susie, Dylan, and everyone else. Goodbye. Have a great rest of the day. Yep. Okay, you guys, we're out of here. Go, if you haven't done it already, go give this live video your thumbs up. And I'll see you soon. Hope and tune in tomorrow to see my beard ripped off. Bye bye. Where's my button?